Good morning and welcome back to Fullerton College's Print 145 class, Variable Data Imaging. This is Professor Ben Hewitt, and today we're going to talk a bit more about Excel and different file types of spreadsheets. Sounds exciting, right? I bet you can hardly wait. FYI, you may hear some of the sounds of my wife running preschool for my daughter in the background, because you're not the only ones doing school at home, you know. Anyways, let's take a look at some stuff. The basic version of the file that I sent you was a .csv file, and we're going to take a look at what that means, and we'll talk about what we use and what we don't use and what works and what doesn't for mailing list integration. So let's take a look here. The basic thing we want to look at are what types of files are common that you're going to find that you're going to be given. So to find out, let's go to File Save As here in Excel, and that should bring up some things. The common formats are the top ones. It can export to Excel older version, .xls. It can save to .csv, comma delimited, sorry, hard to say that. I used to know it as delineated, but that's incorrect right now. It's delimited. Web pages can be done. Excel template, XLTX, I've not used that. Excel template, and there's also the SLSX, the current version that it's actually saved as right now, which is the 2005 onward version of Microsoft Excel. These are not all the same. There's a ton more down below as well that goes on and on and on and on. Versions formatted to be used in all sorts of other versions. There's even plain text exports and things that I'm not even sure how I'd ever want to use them, but they make them compatible backwards to pretty much every spreadsheet program since personal computing began. So the ones we're going to look at here are the ones you're likely to run into in the field, mostly the SLSX, the slightly older SLX, and the CSV, which is much more stripped down, as you are going to see. So the XLS and the SLSX are very similar, just at some point Microsoft decided to redo all of its Microsoft Office suite to use newer file types. That's when the DocX came out. Oh, it's a new version. That way people with the old version can't open it. I mean, there's new features and it's better, right? Totally, guys. It's not just a money grab they did. But they did some background encoding changing. And to look at this stuff, I want to show you there's other ways to view your Excel sheets and your spreadsheets rather than just in Numbers or Excel or even in Google Docs. Let's look at some of the more brute force, interesting ways of peeking behind the curtain to see what's actually there. So maybe I should have gone automotive in my analogies here. Trying to lift up the hood and see what's down there. Fair warning, if it's a VW bug, make sure you're looking in the back or you're going to be disappointed. Okay, so here we are on my desktop. Sorry, it's a little messy. I guess I let my file management slide a little bit during COVID. I should probably clean house, literally and digitally speaking, a little bit more here now. So anyways, we're going to look at the files that we just looked at. The three versions that you can see here, the CSV document, the XLS document. Whoops. Let me select that so we can actually see it. CSV, XLS, and SLSX. So we have these three things. I'll show you two other ways to view them, and viewing the file in more than one way is a good way of seeing how things are. Warning, nerd content. If any of you guys have played the old Aliens versus Predator computer game from the early 2000s, that game freaking rocked. When you were playing as Predator, you were able to switch your vision type to either see normal visible spectrum light, or you can switch to how the Predator sees in the movies, and you could see infrared signature. So humans were really easy to spot in that. You were also able to switch to a different filter, which lets you see, I think, ultraviolet type light of some sort, and you were able to see the aliens really easily. So anyways, this is kind of like that sort of thing. If you're able to switch your vision mode and able to look at things through different cameras, heck, even if you want to just think about real life, if you want to go outside at night and take pictures using visible light and see what you get, and then takes pictures again using IR filters and IR sensitive things like night modes on some cameras, that would be cool to see it that way as well. So you can look at the same image with different types of light in real life. And we're doing a much more boring analogy version here, but honestly, being able to look at it in a different way, be able to get a new perspective on the data is a good way to quickly go through and fix things and see what the problems are. Because things that show up really quickly in one mode are a lot harder to spot in another. So let's take a look here. For you Mac drivers out there, this is really easy and I love it. I also looked it up for PC people because I want to be ecumenical in my computering here. So on the Mac side, you highlight the document, not too much, we're going to change the name. Ben, you're supposed to be professional. So you highlight the thing, you press the space bar, boop, and that brings a pop-up screen so you can then see a preview of the document that you're looking at. This preview mode in Mac works in all sorts of things. Mostly I use it to look through photos to find the one I want to use. But it also works in documents. It works in sometimes, depending on what plugins you have put in, you can open Illustrator files and stuff to look at it as a quick preview to choose which one to open. So you're not just having to go by name, although you should still set yourself up to be able to go by name. So there's the CSV preview of what it would look like. The preview is much simpler without all that extra control features and all the formatting things that show up everywhere, all around you, all the controls that confuse you from Excel. It's so clean and nice and easy. It's just a white sheet with black lines and black letters. God, it's deliciously boring. But that means that I'm not seeing unnecessary junk. This is stripping it down to just the things you need to know. And that's really helpful. You'll notice when you scroll between them, that was the CSV. This is pure, unadulterated data with no formatting added to it at all. Spoilers. When you scroll, I guess I can minimize before I scroll. If I scroll down to the XLS and XLSX files and preview those, it's a bit harder to read. It shows the fact that the cells are overlapping a little more. It tries to add fonts to it. It's just not as clean. And those two are identical in preview mode. I'm scrolling between the two, up and down, up, down, up, down. I'm going to go to the other one, it gets me here, but XLS and SLSX look the same. Or so they do here. We're going to look at it a different way to take another chance to look at how to look at data. All right, so the other way to look at this stuff is to open with on Mac. Whoops. Guess I forgot to tell you what to do. If you're on a PC and you want to see those preview modes, you need to open up something called the preview pane. And kind of like here on the Mac, you can kind of see a little thing in that right edge that shows that it's a data list. On a PC, if you're using Windows 10, you can set it so that that'll be an actual preview of the document on the right. I'm on a Mac. I can't actually show you what Windows sees while I'm on a Mac. So you have to take my word for it. I'll put up a link for a tutorial in case any of you need that to help you get that type of preview available. All right, so now to the one that I really like, and a little dangerous because you can actually make edits like this too. And let me pat my MacGyver self in the back here. I have in the field had to do this to fix my mailing lists. Sometimes this is a little bit easier to see, sometimes it's not. So let's do a right click, open with, and numbers is the Mac version of Excel that I don't like. Excel is the Excel version of Excel that I do like. Let's go down and go to text edit. That's right. I want to see this thing. What does the actual code of this spreadsheet look like when I open it raw? So we're actually going to peer at the, we're all old enough in this class to know about it. We're like looking straight at the code of the matrix itself here. We're no longer looking at formatted images or laid out charts to make it easy for humans. I want to know, how does the computer see this document? So let's find out. Boom, here we go. This is a CSV opened as plain text. Soak it in, guys. It's hard to look at. But you can see how it actually functions, and it's useful. You can actually make corrections here through minor edits if you know what you're doing, which we will do later this semester. So you'll see the column categories we're seeing: first name, last name, company name, address, city, county, state, zip, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll see that there is a comma between them, comma space. Or no, is there? There's no space. It's just a pure comma. So you can see that that comma tells the columns apart. Every comma is the edge of a column. If you go to the next line, you'll notice that the first name, Leota. Whoa, I wonder if that's the lady who does the, summoning on the Haunted Mansion ride. Madame Leota, could that be her? Anyways, Leota, comma, Dillard, comma. So first name, comma, last name, comma, company name is Commercial Press, Her address is 7 Jackson Boulevard. Her city is San Jose. Her county is Santa Clara. State, I think you know where San Jose is, 95111. Those are accurate. 408 is the area code. I mean, I live there. Not a bad area. And it goes on and on and on. So after each comma is where the column is. So depending on how much data you have between commas is how much information goes into the cell in those columns. You can already tell one of the limitations of CSV is going to be, you guessed it, you can't use commas in it. It's a bit of a bummer. It might be possible. It can cause problems to have a comma in the middle of something because that will then, according to the coding, shift it to a different column. I did not save the best for last. I started with the best. In fact, this is as clean a data as you can give a data integration system because it has so little, and that is actually a good thing. Without the extra formatting, without the extra special strokes and effects and colors and stuff, since it's only saving words separated by commas, it's very easy for something like XMPy to take this file and figure out where to put everything. That gets much more difficult with just a little bit of difficulty. Let me close this down. I'll leave it open. Let's do that thing. Let's go open up .xls and look at the difference between XLS and CSV. Open with other. Oh, it's delightfully weird. Here we go, text edit, because text edit doesn't do anything funny. If you do this in Microsoft Word, you're not going to get the same results because Microsoft Word shares a lot of the same coding as Excel, which is why we're trying to keep it outside of its comfort zone and make it show itself as it actually is. Here is what the same list looks like in Microsoft Word, from the Excel file type. There's a whole lot of code at the top that actually means something. You might notice, if you know your fonts, the word Calibri keeps showing up because that's one of the default typefaces that Excel uses. And as you scroll down, 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 you have to go through all this stuff. This is all HTML coding for the formatting. As you go down, 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 warning text, down, 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 company name, address, city, county, state, zip. You'll start to see your familiar columns here, but it's using different types of characters and coding to differentiate the columns. This is a major problem that we cannot use this sort of thing in XMPy. XMPy and other data integration systems are much more simple and want a much more simple diet. They don't want to eat your fancy filet mignon. Just give them a steak, would you? Anyways, all the extra coding throws them off. And here's the real problem. I'm going to end on this because I'm going to run out of time on this video. All the extra coding for the formatting, the cell sizes, the column widths, the fonts and the effects you can drop on those words, all of that formatting is done in a computer programming language, and that language is HTML. This, or is it XML? I think it's XML. It's done in XML, which is similar to HTML. This programming language is the same language that the code gets translated into when you use XMPy. XMPy uses XML, so does XLSX and XLS. So this becomes a problem when they use the same coding. This is something I learned about when I first learned about programming and a little bit of web programming when I was younger. You can't use Microsoft Office to type code because it applies code in the formatting of your code, and that throws off your actual system. So if you think you're just making a program or making a web page in pure HTML, and you've typed it up in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel and you take it over there, same problem as when you try to do it for our spreadsheets for data integration, which is it starts to use the names of things as the names of things. You like my emphasis there? It's like when you name your dog Sit and you say, "Come here, Sit." What does he do? That's where I'm going to leave us for today because this video is already longer than I expected. We'll take a look again at some other issues and pieces of how CSV files work and where their limitations are. Don't forget, they are actually the best option.